Okay, we are now very honored to have our next keynote speaker. She is known to everyone in this room. Heidi King is the Deputy Administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. She comes to NHTSA with extensive experience in public safety, innovation, risk management, evidence-based decision-making, and law enforcement. Her prior work at the White House, industry, on the Hill, and other places in the industry is outlined in her very impressive bio, which is in your course book. It is our honor that Ms. King came here from Washington, D.C. to be with us, and we look forward to her remarks in a very important position for the auto industry. So, Ms. King, if you could welcome her to the stage, please.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Thank you for the invitation to join you here today on a topic that is not only important, it is fascinating, it is interesting, and I'm delighted to be here chatting with you about cybersecurity, about risk management. I don't have to tell anybody in this room that digital technology has a critical role to play in transportation safety. Starting at a very high level, I also think I don't need to tell anybody in this room, but to remind us all that transportation moves our economy. Transportation is crucial, not only to the well-being of individual families, but to our global competitiveness. However, it's also our transportation demands that create risk. And the goal of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the entire Department of Transportation is to save lives and to ensure safety. In 2016, many of you know, 37,461 friends and neighbors died in traffic crashes. 2017, once again, more than 37,000 people. The early estimates for 2018, a little bit better, but still too many people. That's a lot of people. Something that's so essential to our lives and yet presents such risk to our families, to our neighbors, to our colleagues and friends. For decades, thanks to the work of the manufacturers, the designers, engineers, technology innovations, and NHTSA, there has been remarkable improvement in crash safety, and up until now, most of them have come from improving survivability of a crash, improving occupant protection. But still, we know that human behavior plays an important role. In fact, most traffic crashes have a strong human element in the causal elements, not buckling up. Speeding, impaired driving, alcohol-impaired driving continues to kill more than 10,000 people a year on our road, and now we see an increase in drug-impaired driving with drivers who think it's perfectly safe to drive high. In recent years, as cars and trucks have better protected occupants, these safety gains have slowed down over time because of the human element, because of human error and bad choices. Drivers continue to make poor decisions. They're human. This is where advanced digital technologies come in, not only to change the way we drive, but to save lives, to help avoid crashes altogether, to help avoid driver errors, those driver errors that are a contributing factor to almost all traffic crashes today. Not only are these digital technologies essential in getting us to the next level of crash safety, but in fact, we believe we can make significant advances in crash safety with the use of technology. The point I want to stress, the reason I care so much, the reason it's an honor and a delight to be with you here today and to work with you in the coming years, in automotive safety applications, we are talking about digital technology serving in the most important role there is, standing between life and death. When I speak about digital technology, I'm referring mostly to innovative logic implemented in software, commanding physical hardware, elements of a car to mitigate crash risk. Vehicle cybersecurity isn't new. When you have electronics and software, you should think about cybersecurity. We all know that, but it doesn't mean we always do, and it certainly does not mean that our users do in this case. My own first car not many people know this other than my parents, was a 1981 Honda Civic, two-door hatchback, blue, peeling paint. No frills, the radio was probably the most valuable part of it, but it got me where I needed to go, which at that time was work and the beach. The only electronics that I was aware of was, of course, the sound system, but there was likely some other elementary software in that vehicle helping to operate it. I had no idea. Even today, as driver interfaces are increasingly digital, it's not immediately transparent to most drivers that software plays a major role in their car. Since the 1970s, the use of electronics and software in automobiles has grown exponentially to make modern cars one of the most complicated, complex software consumer products today. How many people do you think actually know that? So although cyber entered into vehicle platforms many decades ago, public awareness of cyber risks is much younger, maybe a decade old, and now the awareness is growing. This is not that much different from other fields, including the introduction of the internet, medical devices, or vehicle systems. This poses a great challenge to all of us, though, to educate the public and consumers about these increasingly complex products that they use in every day of their lives to get to work, to school, to the doctor, and to the beach. After all, how many of us across the public recognize the importance of the role of users in managing cyber vulnerabilities in all the points where it matters? Cybersecurity is a broad area. As I mentioned at NHTSA and the Department of Transportation, our first concern, our first mission is safety, to save lives, prevent injuries, and reduce the economic costs of traffic crashes. So we're mainly interested in the safety implications of cybersecurity. Here's a challenge for all of us. When we talk about cybersecurity, the public has a different image than what it may mean to you and me, because we know something maybe more about cars than the average person. Some folks may think of cybersecurity as irritating pop-ups on their desktop, especially after the kids have been using the laptop for homework. Some of us may think of it as credit card fraud or data security, or the risk of being tracked and having their privacy violated. Less frequently, the broader public thinks of cybersecurity as something that can create imminent safety issues. As I mentioned earlier, we're getting to the point where in automotive technologies emerging, digital technologies can draw the line between life and death. The public doesn't think of it that way. So it's true that data security and privacy are important considerations within the context of a vehicle. However, when a car is going 65 miles down the interstate, the possibility of software vulnerabilities potentially causing a crash or an incident is something different. It's something new. And we know that consumers don't have that awareness yet. They think about it entirely differently. To date, most vulnerabilities that we've seen at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration do not immediately result in an unreasonable risk to the motoring public or to the non-motoring public. In fact, only one has even resulted in a recall. But there are areas of improvement to be had, because while individually the incidents we've seen to date may not pose unreasonable risks, in combination with future vulnerabilities they might. That's why it's important that we be open to learning about what we're seeing in every incident, even if it seems insignificant, so we can prevent future incidents and save lives, not only through assuring the security of the system as best we possibly can, but by building public confidence in the emerging technologies that can play a role in saving lives. You and I know software risks are different than mechanical issues. Many of you in the software business know this well. You write software, you introduce bugs. We've all seen the t-shirts or the coffee mugs on programmers' desks that say, 99 little bugs in the code, take one down, patch it around, 123 little bugs in the code. I myself coded many years ago, and damn those little colons at the end of a line of code. You forget one, you're left in there forever. Secretary Elaine L. Chao told me something she heard during a visit to Stanford. One of the experts there commented to her that, we're not eliminating human error as we digitize aspects of vehicle operation. We're shifting from driver error to programmer error. Programmer error is real. Programmers are human too. The pursuit of managing cybersecurity should not be focused, probably can't be focused on eliminating all cybersecurity vulnerabilities because the technology is changing rapidly and humans are writing software. Humans make mistakes. It's not practical and it's likely not possible to achieve perfection in something that humans are building. What is possible, however, is strong risk management. Applying strong risk management principles. There's not a magic bullet, but we do have a process for managing risks, saving lives. We need robust risk management processes and a cybersecurity culture that values searching for and identifying vulnerabilities openly, with open minds and with open communication. A culture of openness to being aware of risks, potential vulnerabilities and bugs. A culture of open dialogue to make sure others know about those risks. A culture of learning and of improving thanks to what we've all learned and what we learn each and every time we identify a vulnerability or a bug, and not hiding or covering up problems. Preparedness is important, and a culture of risk management and preparedness builds confidence with the public. Preparedness is not just for Boy Scouts. Preparedness is a vital part of cyber risk management. Making informed, risk-managed, risk-based decisions in identifying and in implementing appropriate protections, identifying indicators to monitor performance and potential intrusions and attempts. Most importantly, it's about anticipating the unexpected and being ready, being resilient, being ready to pivot and react, and to protect or restore safety. No matter how good your cyber posture may be, things happen. You must be ready to contain, you must be ready to tackle, you must be ready to remediate challenges. Incident response plans are important, and every organization needs to have one. But it's not about waiting until something happens and then following the plan and acting. It's not about dragging out the dusty binder and flipping to the appropriate page that sort of matches the incident that's occurring. Exercise those plans and sort those issues out. All of that before the day comes when you need them. And have already, each and every day in all that we do, a risk management culture that is ready, prepared to have open, transparent, honest discussion about the risks. At NHTSA, we strive always to follow the same principle and processes in place and to execute them. Does that mean we're perfect? No, but it means we're aware of the need to constantly be building strong risk management culture. For example, we recently participated in Department of Homeland Security's Cyberstorm exercise. DHS coordinated that exercise to strengthen, to highlight areas where we can be better, to be more resilient together with participants from the private sector, across the federal government, and some of you, I believe, here in this room. AutoISAC, a valued participant and a valued place to include in any dialogue on cyber risks. With these tools we have in place, the challenge is not as daunting as it may seem. The challenge is significant, but there are many resources that can help. Cooperation between government and private sector is critical to share what we've learned, to identify new vulnerabilities, and I cannot stress this strongly enough, to build and reinforce with one another a risk culture, the expectation that we be open, transparent, and honest about the risks, that we communicate them with one another, and that we solve them together, so that when a bad thing happens, we're all able to react and protect together. The automotive industry has several initiatives, as many of you are aware. For example, AutoISAC, a central hub and safe harbor for industry to share cybersecurity information. I encourage you to learn more about that organization. There's a session about it this afternoon. Please do attend. Don't be daunted by the work you have ahead of you. We're making steady progress, and we're already sharing initial lessons learned and possible threats. We can help one another stay safe. We can help one another protect the public. So here's the thing. Public confidence is key to technology deployment. Is cybersecurity standing in the way? Roll back to the early part of my comments when I cited some safety statistics. 37,461 lives lost in 2016, more than 37,000 again in 2017, and this year, a little bit better, but still not great, not even good. None of those fatalities and crashes are attributable to real-world vulnerabilities, cyber issues. But we can't find comfort in historical data for this challenge. The past is not an indicator in the future. We believe at NHTSA that technology, that software-intensive innovation is key to making significant advances in crash safety. But we can only do that if consumers have confidence and if consumers buy the technologies that we are innovating. They will only buy these technologies if they have confidence in their vehicles, in the technology, in all of us. If cyber risks, if initial events damage public confidence too much, technology deployment will be delayed and its use will be limited. That delays improving safety on our roadways. So, the mission ahead of us requires a multi-pronged approach. It requires, again, the culture of openness, transparency, and honest acknowledgement of risks. It involves educating the public, because they have a role too. We all know that many major cyber vulnerabilities, I think probably most major cyber vulnerabilities, are user points of entry. Owning up to mistakes instead of covering them up, sharing them so that we can all learn together. My best industry example of this is, believe it or not, the nuclear submarine program. They have a fantastic program where they actually reward one another and recognize heroes who acknowledge their mistakes and what they learned from them so that the entire fleet can learn. So, like the US nuclear submarine fleet, being transparent about our goals, being transparent about our remedies. It's up to everyone to make sure that technology is deployed safely. It's up to everyone to ensure that appropriate cybersecurity measures are in place. And it's up to all of us to ensure that the public buys in and has good reason to trust and does, in fact, build that trust in what we're doing because of our transparency, because of our risk management culture, and because of our efforts to educate. In doing so, think back to those 37,000 lives. We can make vehicles safer. We can make our roads safer. We can protect the public, our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues, our communities. Just imagine more than 100 fatality crashes per day. We can reduce that number, not only from protecting against cyber risks, but other risks as well. That saves lives. So thank you for making me welcome with you here today. Couldn't be more excited than to work with you on this in the coming years. Thank you and have a great conference today.